Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. We're continuing on with our TNA conversation. This week, we're doing a TNA tier list of all the talent. Oh boy, we're gonna make some people mad. I'm your host, as always, Chad. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus. Marcus, how the hell are you?
Yeah, man, it should be fun on a TNA tier list when some interesting stuff happened over the weekend. One in particular for TNA.
So we can jump right into that. Ash by Elegance won the TNA Knockouts Championship, arguably the second or third worst wrestler on the women's division. I want to be very clear. I think she's better than Jace Jane or JC Jane or Janie Jace or whatever her name is. I don't necessarily even have an issue with her winning the belt and having the Elegance brand as the top heel group with M by Elegance and Heather by Elegance holding the knockout titles. My problem is that this TNA NXT influx of talent never should have happened. The roster is depleted. We are over relying on mediocre, minor league wrestlers to carry the brand, and it sucks. We've been watching this program, Marcus. I think you've been watching it for at least 15 years, if not longer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you tuned in what 2008, 2009, somewhere around there.
yeah,
I think you cut out a little bit.
yeah. About
There you
2007, 8-ish. Yeah,
go. Okay. So that's 13 years. I've been watching since like the beginning, off and on, and pretty consistently since '04 when they landed on Fox Sports. We've seen this roster grow and change over the years. And last week, I said very emphatically, this might be the worst version of the TNA roster I've ever seen, and I stand by that. Well, this week we're gonna rate something. We're gonna rate the wrestlers, and I want to be very clear how we're doing this. We're ranking the wrestlers and the wrestlers only. We're not looking at managers, announcers, tag teams, or stables. We are looking at specifically the talent of the individual, and we're going to look at mic work, in-ring work, marketability. We're going to look at their overall, to borrow a term of this generation, aura, and we're going to look at their overall impact on the company. So we've divided this up into 6 categories. We have what I'm calling the top guy slot. This is your merch movers. Everyone can say they're a main eventer, but few can say they're a top guy. For point of contention, for a point of interest, just so you can draw a parallel to what we're discussing. When we're talking about top guy, we're talking about Stone Cold and The Rock. Everyone can say, "Oh, Triple H was just a..." No, he was not. Stone Cold and The Rock were in a different stratosphere from 1998 to 2002. They were in a different stratosphere. Sting and Kurt Angle in 2006 and 2007 in TNA. We're talking Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada in New Japan at the height of their rivalry. Those are top guys. Main eventers are guys you can put in the main event. It's that simple. They have the talent, the marketability, and the character to be guys that we'll pay money to see. They might not be the top guys, but they can be just below the top guys. And then you got your upper mid carders, guys who right now are part of the reason to see the show, but aren't the primary reason to see the show. Your mid cards or your mids in this point of discussion are going to be your guys who can carry a match, can carry a segment, can be like, oh, and also so and so is here. A good example of this, TNA did a few shows, I think in like 2018, 2019, in Oklahoma. I think it was with Crimson. Crimson was doing like a military show, I think, and I think it was these 2 shows. And he had MVP versus Chavo Guerrero on both shows. They were not the focal point of the show. They were not the main event. I think one of the events was like Moose versus Alberto El Patron. But they were like, oh, that's also cool. Like you go, they're the main event. So and so's in a tag team title match. You got so and so doing a hardcore match, and then also MVP and Chavo. That's the mids right there. Jobbers are exactly what they are. They exist on the roster only to put other people over. They don't really have any selling points of their own. And while they have value, you could even have pretty decent. And I think the term jobber is kind of thrown around. We're not talking about Barry Horowitz where he was just there to lose. I think if you look at someone specifically, not to spoil the whole thing, but Brian Myers, I think he's a jobber. I think he's a guy that can make other people look good, but you'll never make money off of him. But he can help other people make you money. And then finally, we have why are they here? As in, they should be fired. They have no talent. They're eating up our roster spot. They're eating up money, and they frankly don't provide anything of sustenance to the group. So it's these six categories, and we're gonna start. It was supposed to be in alphabetical order, but I changed it around. The back end of this is going to be where the big meat and potatoes of the roster is, and we're going to see through very diligent, very honest conversations if this roster is as bad as I think it is. So we're going to start first with AJ Francis because, like I said, this was supposed to be an alphabetical order start. So unfortunately, he gets first billing. Marcus, character, promo, match, marketability, the X factor, if you will. Do you think he has any of this?
He's okay on the mic. Um, what do we define an X factor with? Just like an all-purpose can
Like
throw
an
him in any
aura.
scenario type of deal?
No, like when The Rock came out in 1998, he wasn't putting millions in the box office, but like you could tell he had that thing. The way he stood there, the way
Yeah.
he looked around, the confidence, and maybe that's what is confidence.
I don't know if they're fully from Francis. I think he's marketable from the standpoint of he's got a lot of connections. If we can throw that, under marketability because of his obviously football background. I think he's had a lot of different hands in entertainment and different avenues and whatnot, which is why he's been able to connect the company with a lot of what I'm going to use my hands and your hands for this one hip hop artists for the show. Um,
Certainly, he's brought some on,
and-
in theory.
yeah, yeah, in theory, if you believe in that sort of thing, and yeah, but in terms of matches, his matches are fine. As a big man, he serves his job well. When he's not trying to do more than just be a big man, no high flying, God no. Uh, so I feel like he's in that, like you said, that mid card or whatever's below that.
So you think he's a jobber?
Oh, that's what's below mid card.
Yeah.
I give him the mid card then,
Okay.
because I think he actually worked. I think when they tagged him with JC Navarro, I think yeah, JC Navarro. I think that actually worked for him. I don't know if there's a single star. I think Nemeth gave him his best match. Um, but I think he works best in that tag team antagonist position. But I'd throw him a bone and give him the mid card.
I think what I'm gonna do is anyone I think should be fired, I'm gonna let you evaluate them. Because if this was a single tier list, he'd be the first one in the why are they here? And the ladder match at Slammiversary was like the biggest, like, okay, you really are just bad at your job. And the
Yeah,
connections he
it's
has, like, they're not great. They're not. But I do think that I dislike him too much to be fair. So I have no problem acquiescing to you. Alicia. I know this is going to sound a little bit harsh. Well, I think she can be a good on-screen character. I think her role on the roster is simply to put other people over at this point. Is that a debate that we want to have? Because we can. I'm not open to being wrong on this one. I think Alicia could be in the jobber category. I don't know if you would agree with that. I think we lost Marcus momentarily. We'll come back to Marcus here in a second. We're going to continue on as he sorts some stuff out. Next up is Brian Myers. I think, again, with Brian Myers, we're definitely talking about the jobber category. Solid hand, but I think he exists on this roster simply to make other people look better. And I think you can tell that by his win loss record currently. He's probably the weakest member of the system. So I think that says everything you need to know there. Also, just for context, we're not looking at Chris Bay tonight, nor are we looking at uh, anyone else who is, either injured with no timetable to return, or like someone like Matthew Raywalt, who is a wrestler but specifically just does commentary for TNA. So we're not going to be doing Chris Bay or Santino or even Tommy Dreamer. With that, let's hit up Cassie. What is it? Cassie Lee? Is that her TNA name? I'm a big fan of Cassie Lee, but I'm not such a big fan that I think she's anything but a solid tag team act. I would definitely keep her employed. I think she's a solid worker, but nothing spectacular. And I think she has decent credibility, but I think she's at best a mid Carter. Marcus, welcome back.
Thanks, man. Yeah, small technical difficulty. Who are we on?
So we got to Alicia. I put her in the jobber category because I think her best role right now is to help elevate other women. Is that
Yeah, same.
unfair? Yeah. Brian Myers is also in the jobber category because I think his best asset is that he can help make other wrestlers look better. I think you agree with that. And then Cassie Lee, I put it
Yeah,
in the midsection because while she's a great promo, she's only a fine wrestler, and I don't think her gimmick is so marketable that you can make a lot of money off her.
yeah, because we've only just seen her in tag team, correct? So
Mm-hmm.
that's probably what she's best at. So yeah, 100% agree on these picks.
Danny Luna's next. I'm gonna put her in the mid card section, but I'm gonna put her at the front of the mid card section. Right now, she has a lot of potential. She's a great talent in the ring. She has a good look, but her character and promo work, I wouldn't say is top notch. And she hasn't really shown that she can be a driving factor for people to tune in. But I also think that she has a lot of room to grow. So I think the midsection is just about right.
Yeah, same. I feel the same. Like she, obviously the tag team was good. I don't know if they got the run they probably should have had because I don't know if they always got the good booking that they deserved for the level of talent that they brought to each other. But they did what they could. Now they split. I think Annie Luna specifically, she got, like you said, got a lot of potential. And given that time and that opportunity, I think she could roll out of that. So, like you said, from the mid call package. So,
Next up is Elijah. I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one because I don't have the strongest of belief in him. We got top guy main event, upper, mid, jobber, and of course, why are they here? Where do you think Elijah should land with his current run with the company, even though he is hurt?
right now, and like the guy, whole look and everything, and it's because I feel like he was different, or maybe I haven't seen enough acts on a varied scale across the business, but I feel like he was different. But in terms of what he's been in TNA and what they've used him for, and just the fact that I didn't even really know he was injured, I think, and you might be pleased with this one. I gotta put him in the why they here category
Fair enough.
because I think he kind of threw him in there around the world title picture when they kind of just needed somebody to have a match with or needed somebody to tag with, and he was random all purpose. He wasn't very intentional all purpose. So um, whether the guy had a job and was on TV, but it can't really ask why he's here if you don't have nothing specifically, tailored to cater to him. So
Agreed. Next up is Eric Young. At his age, I've never thought he was marketable. Maybe when he was young Eric Young with the blonde hair and the Don't Fire Eric dance, and even into his Wild Man days when they were really capturing his multi television use and his run as television champion when he was beating up Scott Baio. I think you could have even argued he was in the upper category at that point. But he's nearly 50. He has a played out look. He's done the same gimmick in TNA every year with a new group of dudes around him, and it's never made for interesting television, in my opinion. But I feel like what he brings to the table as a player coach situation makes him pretty valuable. So I would say jobber category. I would not promote or book around him, but I want him on my roster coaching up the kids.
I'm right there with you, man. I think him being, I mean, clearly he's a loyalist and to a certain degree. Obviously, he had a couple stints in the E, but he came back. And I think he's really been one of those guys who's really been, one of those glues in the backstage situation. I think that's where he's best served. Like you said, at this stage, appearance wise, he looks like a bad Sons of Anarchy villain. Um, that don't go more than a few episodes. He's not he don't get a season long arc. He's just one of those guys. I think he works better as a mind backstage and a coach, like you said, in that regard. And at this point, he's just a repetitive antagonist with the same old bit, becoming like a lesser version of what Jericho was doing in AEW with groups. Um, and I don't know if they keep throwing them out there because they don't trust the guys that they put them with to kind of go out there and do their own thing, or they just, you know, because of the cachet he kind of has in the company, kind of let him do his own thing a little bit. But definitely better served in the back, pushing the young talent forward without being on camera. So Jeff Jobber, yeah.
Next up is Harley Hudson. She's got the look, the physique, the in ring stuff. We haven't really had a lot of her promo work, but I think as like a blue chip talent, she offers a lot. And I think she falls in the mid category, but at the top end of it. I think she's even higher than Danny Luna at this point. And just for
Mm.
Marcus and everyone at home, I'm ranking them further into the slots they land in. So like I think Eric Young is your top jobber, followed by Alicia, followed by Brian Myers. Right now, I think Danny Luna is the top mid, followed by Cassie, followed by AJ Francis. But I think Harley Hudson, for potential, goes to the front of the line in the mid section. I think there's a lot there. Heather by
Yeah, I
Elegance,
haven't.
yes.
No, I was just gonna say I agree. I haven't seen as much of it as you have, but
Mm-hmm.
I know she was one of those talents that I feel like they talked about, but we was waiting to see. And we've been talking about for a while now how they've been needing to bolster that knockout division. I mean, really the whole roster, but specifically the knockout division. So yeah,
I agree. I agree. Heather by Elegance, I'm gonna put in the midsection because while she's shown me a little bit in the ring, personality and character wise, I think she's still lacking. I think she's being forced into this elegance gimmick. She came in with tattoos and a punk look, and her name was Heather Reckless. And I think they missed, I think they, what's the word, miscategorized her with this grouping. So I don't think she's being optimized to the best of her ability. So at the exact moment, I think she's valuable. She's young. I think she's like 26.
mm,
Definitely has upside. The gimmick is holding her way back. So I have to put her at the tail end of the midsection. She's one of the middle wrestlers to keep an eye out for right now. Do you agree or
quick
disagree?
question: Do you think this? A quick question
Mm-hmm.
for say: Do you think this is a flip on what they did with Havoc?
In what way?
Because didn't they do this thing with Havoc where they put her with Rosemary, but she forgot her
Mm-hmm.
more dark personality trait
Yes.
sort of deal?
I don't think this is a flip because listen, I've been watching Jessica Abbott since 2009. I was watching her Cleveland All Pro Wrestling. I went and watched her wrestle live. She used to be in shape, moved really well, had a lot of power to her, and she was one of the better indie women wrestlers of her era. Even when she finally landed in TNA in like what was it 2013, 2014, while she had gotten bigger, she was still able to move pretty well. By this point, I feel like she's lost whatever mobility and athleticism she had. And I think their attempt to try to get her into this new personality to try to rejuvenate her, I think worked as best as it could because I do think there is a bit of truth to this kind of more pop punk personality she has. And I think she was able to slide into that a little bit better as opposed to Heather Reckless, who kind of has that underground vibe to her that is being ignored. So I don't think it's a flip. I think this is a worse version of what they did with Jessica Havoc, and I don't think the Jessica Havoc move was all that great. But this is a serious
Yeah.
downplay with what she could have been doing. I think she would have been a perfect foil for Jody Threat and Danny Lewis, especially Jody Threat.
Gotcha,
But that's just
gotcha.
me.
Yeah, I agree with the mid of it all too, because I feel like this. But I mean, we're gonna get to Ash, but I definitely just have a feeling, even though she's obviously been playing to the back of her, that she's better than her. And maybe that's the whole point of the storyline, that they're eventually gonna pull that trigger. I won't hold my breath for it because I feel like they just trying to hold on to anything that's allegedly working right now. But yeah,
Agreed. Moving on to Indy Hartwell. She is by far one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen. I don't think personality wise she stands out. Promo wise, she's not very entertaining. Athletically, she has none. She's in great shape, but like we watched her against Tessa Blanchard. Tessa Blanchard might be more racist than Hulk Hogan, right? But Tessa Blanchard almost never has a bad match. And her match with Indy Hartwell at Slammiversary was god fucking awful. Indy has been doing this for a long time. She was not a, what was it, an NXT performance roster. What are they called? Performance wrestlers. Can't think of the damn name of it now.
enhancement talent.
No, like they were developed by the Performance Center. She's not a Performance Center talent. She was signed as an indie
Gotcha.
wrestler out of Australia. Same with Steph Delander. They already had experience in wrestling, and Indy never proved anything. Her best storyline was with Sam Shaw, and it wasn't even that
Yeah.
good. It had like two moments that was actually mildly entertaining. I was excited about the possibility of what Indy could do with Steph Delander as a tag team because I thought Indy was good enough in the ring. I thought to be able to carry Steph Delander because I never thought Steph Delander was that great in the ring, especially now that she had was it spinal fusion or vertebrate fusion in her neck. So I thought Indy could do some good work with Steph Delander, but Steph Delander's still out, and Indy's proven herself to be far from a worker. So now we're kind of stuck here with Indy Hartwell, taking up airtime when it could go to any number of people. So not great, not great. Any disagreements on Indy Hartwell?
Nope.
So this takes us to Jada Stone. For right now, I'm going to put her at the bottom end of the jobber section only because I haven't seen anything out of her. All of the
Okay.
matches I've seen with Jada Stone, she's been losing. So like she's like an enhancement talent, and I want to see more from her. I think she's young. I want to say she's in her mid 20s. She's had I forgot the T. I'm googling her real quick. She is, I think, out of the Team 3D Academy. No, I'm sorry, she's out of OVW. She comes highly recommended. I've seen a little bit of her work in OVW. She's not bad by any means, but she has so much to prove. She's only been doing this for 3 years. Apparently, her debut was in October 31st of 2021. So clearly, this isn't a veteran by any means. She might be in her early 20s, might be in her mid 20s. She's not old by any means, but she hasn't shown anything in TNA. And it's hard for me to sit here and say that she should be seen as a valued asset of the roster when she hasn't proven anything. I have optimism though for her to do just that. I think she has one of the brighter stars, but we have to see competitive matches, good promos out of her. And until then, you know, I think right now jobber status is the
Yeah.
best we can get.
Yeah, gotta agree with you because whatever you've seen of her, little you've seen of her, I've seen less. So,
That takes us to an interesting one, and one that I'm going to need you to take the reins on because when it comes to Cedric Alexander, I am not a fan. I can sit here and tell you that he is probably in the top 50 in the world in terms of just pure in ring quality. He is phenomenal.
yeah,
But outside of what he brings in the ring, I've never been impressed with his promos, with his character work, his look. I think, who wasn't he paired with Caprice Coleman in Ring of Honor? I think they're like the CNC Wrestle Factory.
yeah, I think so. And he was a lot bigger back then too. Yeah,
And I think he hated it. I think he even said, or I think he said something to the effect like, we were poorly matched. And I don't think he sees himself the way the rest of us sees him because if you get put with Caprice Coleman, you get put with arguably one of the 10 greatest talkers in Ring of Honor history. He is one of the best promo guys out there. And anytime you can bring him into a situation, you should. He should be on TV far more often than he is right now. Now, granted, he's 48, so I don't know how much more in the ring he wants to do. But if I'm TNA, I'm signing him either as a commentator. I think he may be still doing commentary for Ring of Honor. Either as a commentator or as a manager. Caprice Coleman could be the next, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Really could.
yeah,
And you, as arguably one of the best young workhorses in 2011 Ring of Honor, you don't want to be paired with someone who can make you look better just by doing your thing. It's silly to me. I don't think I would ever put Cedric in a title picture or build a card around him. But he's one of those guys where if you need to inject him into a match with, say Laredo Kid or Cody Deaner or AJ
yeah,
Francis, you could get a good match out of that. So there's value in Cedric, a
yeah,
lot of value. I
yeah.
wouldn't say he's a jobber though, but I would put him at the end of the mid card spectrum because I really don't think people are going to tune in to see Cedric other than people who have an innate investment in Cedric's actual wrestling story. Because there's been issues with
Yeah.
Cedric and the perception of race and his involvement in other companies. And if you're somebody who wants to see black wrestlers be better represented and better pushed, you might be a big fan of Cedric. And I want to take that into account here because that does matter and that is important. Representation is important. So I think Cedric does have a group of people who do value him and want to see him get pushed up the card. I just have not seen his character or promo works that justify having him anything above the mid card. Do you agree or disagree? Because you have just as much say on this as I do.
Absolutely. And you're not, 100% agree with you. If only caveat, I'll probably put him higher in the mid card than you.
So right now, the top
I
two in the
think
mid
he,
card are Harley and Danny. Would you put him up with them, or would you put
I
him, or
put,
would you put him more like past AJ Francis and like in between AJ and Cassie? Because it goes Harley Hudson, Danny Luna, Cassie Lee, AJ Francis, and Heather by Elegance.
I put him above AJ.
Okay, so between Cassie and
Um,
AJ. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Real quick to your point about, because I think this is a good little caveat about some guys, I guess, having a perception of themselves that the fans that doesn't necessarily translate with the fans they're catering to.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think him and guys like a Ricochet see their talent and kind of use that as a blanket over all those other areas that we see as areas that they need to improve in?
Yes. Now with Ricochet, I think you have a generational talent, kind of like Bret Hart, where he's so good that's okay. I think Cedric Alexander falls more in the um, Josh the Good Woods or what's his name? Fucking bearded little douchebag who kind of looks like Brian Danielson if he was deflated and then reinflated. He was also in 205
Um,
Live. Nice. Tony Nice,
the
Anthony
freaking
Nice.
Tony Nese,
Yeah.
Tony Nese. Yeah,
Yeah. I think
yeah,
Cedric falls in the Tony Nice category. We're a great worker. Great worker. I would not ever, ever buy a ticket to see Tony Nice. In fact, if I see Tony Nese
yeah,
in a upper card match, I probably won't go to the show because that tells me all I need to know about the quality of the show. Now, if Tony Nese is doing like a dark match against Cody Deaner, okay, yeah, that's fine. But like, I don't need anything more from that from Tony Nese, and I feel the same way about Cedric. But also, I think Cedric has a little bit of emphasis around him because he was so poorly utilized. I think there's a fandom that has embraced him because of that and want him to succeed
yeah.
in spite of his previous booking. So I see why he would be in this section. Now, with that being said, we're going to Jessica McKay or Jessie McKay, the tag team partner of Cassie Lee, and I'm going to put her in just. And again, this is as a tag team, as an individual. This is not as a tag team. Individually, I think she is a jobber. I think she is the weaker half of the inspiration. I think
Mhm.
promo wise, she has good energy with Cassie Lee, but I do not think her on her own is good. She's great as part of this act, right? But Cassie Lee is the talent. She's the one who drives the pony, so to speak. Jessie McKay is just like here we go. If this was who is it? Oh, hang on, I gotta remember hip hop. Hang on. I got this. Hang on. I can make this reference. Give me a second. I gotta look it up. Gotta look it up. Public Enemy. All right. If we were talking Public Enemy, Cassie Lee is Chuck D, the talent of the group. Jessie McKay is Flavor Flav. She's the hype woman. She's there just to be loud and be noticed. And I think that's a good representation of who she is as a wrestler, personally. Agree or disagree?
Yeah. No, I gotta agree with you, and I'm gonna lean more towards you specifically on this because I don't know if I've ever been able, and maybe I'm with them the way you are with the Usos. I don't know if I've ever been able to tell the divide of a better or worse,
Yeah, that's fair. I think
and maybe
Cassie is a
I've been
better
paying enough of
athlete.
attention. Yeah,
I think she's a better athlete, but I don't think she's such a good athlete. We should be talking about her as a world champion. I think they're in the perfect situation to optimize the best parts of their career, which is a tag team. One woman that I do think
agreed.
can be a little bit higher though, given time, is Jody Threat. Unique look, great wrestler, not the best promo, but also Ash by Elegance is your new world champion. I feel like the bar is pretty low for who the next big name could be in this division. That being said, I think she falls somewhere between Cedric and AJ Francis as a mid card wrestler. She has to prove a little bit more than others at this point, but I think she has the tools to do it. She just needs the opportunity.
Agreed.
Okay.
And it's rare. We're gonna talk about another uh, couple names that got paired that work as a tag team and also work individually. That to me are going to be higher up on this particular ranking. But yeah, definitely agree. You put hope and hopefully they find a way to get them both from storyline and momentum to where they can both showcase what they can do on their own. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. Because they both managed to show what they would eventually be able to do on a singular basis when they were tag team. Even though I think they could have got some better opportunities as a team. But yeah, I agree with that spot.
Yeah, they were not given the best talent possible. Speaking of best talent possible, he might be a good trainer and he might be super popular with the people behind the scenes, but John Schuyler is going straight in the jobber category. This man is short, pudgy, has no real uniqueness to him, has not cut a great promo. Honest to God, he's holding Jason Hotch back. End of the jobber list. He's only going to be saved from being cut because he is still a good wrestler. and you can put him out there with guys who are young, developing, and just have him eat a bunch of losses. That's where I think he is at this point. But do you agree or disagree?
Now this is the young man that was with Alexander and then got into it with Mustafa.
Yeah, this is the chubbier, shorter half of the good hands, great hands. Sorry. Remember when the one that feuded with Mustafa before Cedric's debut was Jason Hotch. He's the svelter one who's got better hair.
Gotcha,
John is the
gotcha. Yeah,
shorter,
man.
gremlin looking one behind him.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. They had him pop in that for a second, but putting him against Ali, he looked good because he was against Ali, but that's about where that train stopped. So I definitely got to say agree with that on the driver side of the game. His ceiling is clear.
Yeah, John Skyler. I don't think John Skyler had the match with Ali. I think that's Jason Hotch you're thinking of. But maybe Skyler
Okay.
had one. I don't remember. Skyler's the one that you're not going to see a great match out of him. Basically, he is what he is at this. Judas Icarus is
Yeah.
next. I think tail end of the midsection. I think he's a good worker, but he has shown nothing else. But I think
Yeah.
he's shown enough that maybe, just maybe, he could be some over time.
Sorry.
I think Casey Navarro, same situation despite the injury. I'm gonna put him above M by Elegance because he has more style than most,
Yeah.
but he doesn't have the track record necessary to stand out above some of the others. I'm gonna put him above AJ Francis though, just for me. Killer
Yeah.
Kelly,
No, agree.
Killer Kelly. She was off for almost over a year due to her pregnancy. And while that's great for her personal life, we are evaluating careers. I think it has hindered her career, though not that it's I shouldn't say it hindered her career having a baby. It slowed her momentum down, and the perception of Killer Kelly hasn't been great since she's returned. They have not been as invested in her as past regimes have been, and it sounds like she may be leaving the company once her contract is up. But I still think Killer Kelly has a lot of value. Her chemistry with Masha is second to none, truly. And I think when you think about what she could do if the reins were taken off of her, I think Killer Kelly could be huge. I think she could be the next major star. That being said, we haven't seen a lot about her since her return. I still think she ends up tail end of the midsection, but probably between Casey Navarro and AJ Francis. Agree or disagree?
No, 100% agree because, like you said, we haven't. We're judging off what we got now, and she might be in a different category if we coming off of what she did with Masha, but a lot of things have changed physically and obviously, like you said, life wise. And if this regime isn't as invested, she might not get those opportunities to really show off in that regard. So I think that's a good spot for her because potential more potential than a lot of the names that we talked about so far. But if you don't get this opportunity to show it, it's waste.
Agreed. We're gonna go with Kylan King. She's been injured and been dealing with some issues right now. Um, been off TV for 18 months. I hate to do this, but she hasn't been part of the active roster, so it really is a question of why is she still here at this point. I would like to see her recover and come back and go hard, but I don't see a lot going on right now with her. I'm gonna put her at the top of the list though, because I think unlike Elijah and Indy, she has potential. We just have to see more out of her.
So she's why she here for you at the top of that list.
That'd be yeah, only because she's been hurt for so long, she's been out of the ring for so long, and even when she was here,
Yeah,
she was tagging with Taylor Wilde, and
yeah,
nothing really came of it. So I'm gonna do the same
yeah.
thing
Same.
for Laredo Kid though. In fact, I'm gonna expedite this. Laredo Kid and Li Ying Li, I think, go into the why are they here categories. Neither Laredo Kid or Li Ying Li, in my opinion, have shown anything that states they should be here. And I've never been a Laredo Kid fan, or Laredo fan is what they're calling him now. And Li Ying Li has essentially proven to be pretty replaceable. She can't cut promos very well. Her personality doesn't reflect anything worth, investing in. In ring, she's fine, but it seems like that they have a lot of money invested in her, and I don't know why. Because like I think she's pushing 40.
Yeah, um, definitely agree. Laredo Kid is like a plug and play character that they use, particularly with the X Division. Solid, solid has been solid for years. They've had him and used him, but they've not really shown. He's definitely one of those guys that they use to fill in, say, like a X Division, um, the Destination X multi-man spots and all that stuff. But yeah, they definitely know why he's here category because if he's not there, you don't miss him. And with who's the other name?
Uh, Li Ying Li,
Yeah, and I think she just re-signed.
she did.
And she kind of comes off to me. Yeah, and she kind of comes off to me like Giselle Shaw, where they want her around, but they don't want to do nothing significant with her. And they'll give him a title shot and put him in contention position, but they'll never put the title on. I'm
Agreed.
like, what are you doing with them?
Agreed. For jobber status, I'm going with JDC. Uh, Again, he's a name like Eric Young who has a lot of popularity behind the scenes, and he's been apparently producing a lot. But I don't think we need to be putting him in major storylines. I think we can move on from there. What I will say, Marcus, we might have our first
Yep,
upper guy, if you agree. What do you think about Mance Warner? Do you think Mance Warner's an upper mid card kind of guy?
I do. I think he's been showing a lot of improvement. They've been putting him in some high pressure situations, certainly physically, and he's been delivering even when he's losing. I think, like I said, I'm still impressed by the pivot that they did with him and Delander, particularly coming off of that PCO debacle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he kind of seems to be that new guy that that were in the past veins of an abyss. They tried to pass the Bram, and then also we got Callahan, and now that those names are kind of off the Brams elsewhere. Bishop retired, and Callahan seemingly retired. Seems like he has next, and he stays healthy. He's definitely a guy that they can really um, hear somebody being consistent and ferocious in both hardcore and regular scenarios. Not at all too dissimilar from how they see Macklin.
I agree. Masha, I'm gonna shock you here. After her run, I'm gonna put her in the mid card category, and I'm gonna put her down below Danny Luna. I think she has had one of the worst 2025s possible, despite the fact that she was coming in as the heir apparent for Jordan Grace. I think her lack of promo and her overall booking has ruined and hindered her reputation and brand. And while she's still probably the best all around worker that TNA has in the Knockouts division, I think her brand is damaged because of all the shit they've been doing.
Yeah, man, I hate to go here with it, but I can't disagree. I think she had a mystique and as the kids say, aura about herself before she got that title, and she finally did get that title in a fantastic match. But I think, and I gotta stand on my square with this because I think I gave this critique that you're giving Marsha about Jordan back then, mostly because she was the best thing in the company with the worst competition.
Agreed.
But I think to your credit, and you said this while we were critiquing that particular reign while it was still happening, she still managed to maintain a unique specialness about her that Jordan Grace aura, if you will, even while she was basically knocking down a lot of competition that was not on her standard. That has not happened with Martha. She's lost that mystique and that specialness, like you said, in combination with maybe we've seen too much of her, particularly going back and forth between NXT. The promo stuff isn't there. Like it almost seemed like she was a better promo when we didn't think she spoke English.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just gone from being this badass that can compete at the level, on somebody like a Jordan Grace who was like to say the air get over somebody like a JC James. And it's ironic that we're, coming off of talking about her and Jordan because it feels like they're doing the same thing with Jordan and NXT with the likes of Mariah May. But we're talking TNA, so yeah, I hate to do that with Martha because she really is that talented, but they rubbed off all the specialness on off of her.
Agreed. What I'm gonna do now is we still got a lot of this roster to go, and it's not moving as fast as I thought. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start categorizing the remaining knockouts, who in my opinion, are in jobber status category. That would be Mila Moore, Mila Grace, no relation. Um, let's see. I think that's it for the jobbers. And then for the men, I'm gonna put Octagon in the jobbers. I'm gonna put Ryan Nemeth in the jobber category because outside of his brother, why is he here?
Yep.
And I'm going to put. Now, here are two names I want to put in the fired category that I know for sure that I want to get rid of. First is Zaya Brookside. I have seen nothing from her, and I mean absolutely nothing from her that makes me think that she should be on this company.
Oh, wow.
Her promos are bad. Her on-screen stuff feels forced. She overall just does not strike me as an individual that should warrant a roster spot. She's got some in-ring talent, sure, but I don't think that she has shown enough that makes me think that we're looking at someone who should have a roster spot over somebody else, personally. The other name that I was thinking about that with is Victoria Crawford, former Alicia Fox. I uh I I, I don't know why she's here, if I'm being honest.
Thing. She's an add-on, tag on, and probably the worst. The best example for you putting her in this category is y'all really put her with Tessa.
Right? Which is ironic. Now, what I would like to do, M by Elegance, I'm going to put at the tail end of the mid card section. Her association with the group has given her some value, but I feel like she hasn't shown a lot. And on her own, I don't know if she has the necessities to stand out and thrive within the company. The other knockout I want to put in this category is going to be actually a newer addition, one I'm not over the moon about, but I think she has a look, and I think she has a style that could make her worth sticking around. I'm gonna put Mara Sadai. Sadai. How do you say it? How do you say it? Sadai.
I think it's Sade. Yeah,
Sade. Sade. Mara Sadai. I'm gonna put her at the tail end of the mid section. I think there's potential. I didn't see it when she was in NXT, but I'm willing to give her a genuine shot here because she has a unique look in the knockouts division that we don't really have a lot of.
yeah.
As far as the next crop of women, I'm gonna put Steph Delander in the lower upper. I think as a manager and as a personality, she's captivating. As a wrestler, she's very limited, but she's also a lot of fun to watch. And so I think as a personality, she definitely warrants being up that high. And I'm going to put Tasha in the upper mid cards unless you have any disagreements, because I think with the Order 4, she has shown herself to have a lot of value as a promo. I don't think she's a great promo, but I think she's good enough. She's proven to be able to play vastly different types of characters and do it convincingly. And if you put her in a match, she's going to
Yeah,
be all right. Like she's the size of Lish, but she's a lot more athletic and she can bump a lot better. So she can make talent look better.
yeah.
So I think upper mid card, if I think if we're going with, the early 2000s top six, right? You had, a WWF, sorry, you had like Kurt Angle, Triple H, Undertaker, Kane, The Rock, Stone Cold. I think when you look at that kind of grouping in terms of the knockouts division in 2025, I think she falls under the Kane category, the sixth most impressive name in that listing, but someone you could put the belt on. And I think that's kind of what Tasha is in today's TNA.
Agreed.
So that takes us to the final three knockouts. We have Tessa, we have Ash by Elegance, and we have Rosemary. I'm going to put Rosemary
Mm,
in upper. I know as a talent, she's kind of fallen off. She is in her 40s now. She had that devastating knee injury, and we saw what happened with Sammy. When Sammy broke his leg, he was never the same. Rosemary, same situation. She's gotten herself into ring shape. She's gotten herself back to as good as she's ever going to be again. But I think as a character, as a personality, she still has value. And I think while she might be a gatekeeper at this point, like a jobber to the stars, I do still think people will tune in to see Rosemary because she's so unique and so interesting as a character.
yeah, quick question. Do you think of all the time we've been talking about her getting back in shape and getting back to some level of degree when she was, I guess, at her apex, where what's the standard in the division now? Do you think this is the best chance that we've seen in the last number of years for her to get back the title?
Yes, assuming the NXT factor gets unraveled. Because I could
Yeah.
absolutely see Rosemary running with the belt as a stopgap until someone else is ready to take the belt from her. That brings us to, I think, the two hardest ones to answer, Tessa and Ash by Elegance. Ash is the top of the division right now. But before her victory, I would have fired her. I might still fire her. I don't think she's a good enough worker to be a jobber. I don't think she's a good enough promo to be in the mid or upper mid section of the category. She's certainly not someone anyone's going to be tuning in to see, and she sure shit's not moving merch. But she is the champion. So what does that say? I don't know. I think at best she's at the bottom of the midsection,
Mm.
personally. Um, I think she might be the worst women's wrestler on the roster. That isn't Indy Hartwell. Do you agree or disagree?
I'm right there with you. It's the unfortunately the crazy thing is her cons weigh even the fact that she's champion. And it's not like these cons happen all of a sudden. We've been saying this for some time. On top of the unnecessary, over the top change of the aesthetic, which we talk about didn't need to happen. It's just not there. She obviously has a loyalty to the brand because I think she's gotten the best shot she's had in wrestling with TNA that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, she's just not the one. I'm glad that we have the title back, but she's just not the one. But it's crazy because the next pick is even more confusing.
Right. So where would you put Ash then? Mid, jobber, fired,
I would put Ash at like you said, with the bottom of the mid
bottom of the mid?
because she is serviceable. Yeah, she has been featured heavily, and she do show up and do the job when she whether it's losing or winning. She does what she needs to do, and she's not getting berated by the crowd when she's doing it.
And then Tessa. Tessa is the last one standing. Would you put her in the upper category as a wrestler? Would you put her in the why are they here because of the racism? I feel like those are the only two spots. She's too valuable of a name to make a jobber. She brings a lot of attention and she has too good of matches to just throw on for 7 minutes and then call it a night. And she's far more developed to the point where you can't really call her a mid wrestler because she has so much more credibility to her name than she does. But also, she's not a good person. She's an out and out bully. She's ruined bridges everywhere she's gone. She was in NXT and got fired. She was in WoW and got fired. She was in TNA and got fired. And it doesn't seem like she's changed. But unlike Hulk Hogan, who's like, brother, you gotta be better at being racist. She's just said, I was never racist and I don't know an apology. And then didn't say anything else about it. Is that a better way to do it?
Yeah,
Yes. Is it the best way to do it? No. So I don't know
yeah,
where Tessa is. I waffle weekly. Fire her, book her, fire her, book her, fire her, book her, because I don't know.
yeah, yeah. It's it's funny. She's equally occupying, obviously, way too good to be in the mid, like you said. But she's, once you get out of the talent perspective, she's equally occupying like the fire with the negative things that come with her, infringing on the why she here because of the like the audience is that's the longest feud we've seen this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the audience. So it's crazy. It's like they have spoken. They not changing on it every time. Like she goes out there in singles matches and it's really a handicap because she's fighting an opponent in the audience. But like you said, she's too valuable with the comparative things that we've had on this roster to not have her there.
Mm-hmm.
And like you, I think I'm waffling, but I definitely put her in the what's above the mid
Upper.
category, the contender or player.
Yeah.
Upper.
Upper.
You got
Yeah.
you got you got to put her in upper. The girl's just too damn good. Like you got to put some earmuffs on when you're watching her.
Not wrong. All right. That does it for the women. We're going to do the hometown man, and then we're going to focus specifically on the X Division and one lump category, and then we're going to look at the top stars remaining. Um, I'm going to put hometown man above AJ Francis for me. Below Killer Kelly, but above AJ Francis in the mid for one specific reason. He's cheap pop material, and Cody Deaner
Yeah,
as a personality, I think could really make people invested if they gave him something to play with. And also, he's been like a member of this roster off and on since 2009. He's one of the longest serving members of this roster. Now, is he a great wrestler? No, he's fine. He's what I like to call indie strong. He's someone that if you put in a 10-minute match, he's not going to be AJ Styles, but he's going to be like a 1980s hero, face back in the day where he's doing the big punches and he's engaging the crowd and people are chanting his gimmick. That's what he could be. And I think that's good enough. I don't need my roster to be 1,000 AJ Styleses, right? I need some guys who can just be entertaining, who can be for the everyman. And Cody Deaner, is that. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, but Cody Deaner's a pretty decent hand. He's not someone that you will ever build a roster around. But we've seen him have some good matches, and we've seen him have some good promos. His stuff during quarantine is arguably the best thing TNA did during that era. Give him an opportunity, and he can shine. So, yeah, I'm fine with hometown
yeah,
man Cody Deaner being in the midst.
yeah. And interestingly enough, when's the last time we seen something like this? Was it Shark Boy?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, I think that's a great one to one. Marcus, that is a great one to one. I think hometown man is the new Shark Boy. Again, not someone that you're going to invest in, but if you're like a 10-year-old or if you're like a 50-year-old who's like, I really like my local sports team, and then Cody Eater comes out in a purple and gold mask, and you're like, he looks like an LSU Tiger player. I like that. Or you're up in Ann Arbor and he comes out in blue and yellow, or you're out, celebrating the New York Knicks, he comes out in blue and orange. You're like, he's dressed like a Knicks player. That's awesome.
Yeah,
You could have that. You could have that type of guy who rejuvenates the hometown hero aspect that gets local fans embracing him.
yeah.
I don't think he's not a 5-star wrestler by any means, but he could be good enough, and sometimes that's enough. Now let's talk the X division. Three guys in particular, the Rascals. I feel like we have seen all three. Well, I shouldn't actually. Yeah, I'm going to say all three guys. Great promos. Now for Myron Reed, it was when he was in MLW as a member of Injustice. He was the lead promo guy, and he cut some great promos. You have Zachary Wentz. You have Trey Miguel. We saw them with Desmond Xavier cut hilarious promos in the Treehouse. We know that they are exciting, entertaining, bombastic guys. What I will say is during their TNA run specifically, I think you can make a case for Trey and Zach being upper guys and Myron being the top mid guy because Myron has not shown him to be that guy yet in this company. That's what we're grading on. That's what we're evaluating. But I think Myron is the top potential guy among the men in the mids, and I think Zachary and Trey, especially as tag team wrestlers, though we're grading them individually as single wrestlers, would be in the uppers. Any disagreements there?
None.
Okay, so we're gonna put Myron in the top. We're gonna put Trey and we're gonna put Zach in the point. Just to kind of get this out of the way, Travis Williams is going to go into the bottom tier of the mids. I think he is the tag team partner of Judas Icarus, and I think he is the less impressive aspect of that tag team. Any disagreement there?
Gotcha. Nope.
All right. So then we have. I'm going to not consider Mustafa Ali an X Division guy for the sake of this. We're going to look at the last two X
Yeah.
Division guys being Leon Slater and Rich Swann. I think Leon Slater you can easily say is the top upper guy. I don't think he's a main eventer yet,
Yeah.
but I think he's your best young prospect. He has a sincerity about him that can't be taught. I think Marcus, when you think about guys like Matt and Jeff Hardy, I don't think Matt is a great promo. I think he developed a great character and broke Matt Hardy, but I think it was his sincerity that made fans like him,
Yeah.
just like Jeff. And Slater has that, and I think it's why he works so well with the Hardys. I just don't think he's a main eventer yet, which I don't think is wild. He's 21. He's a baby. He is the squirrel of Moose and Squirrel. And I think he has all the potential in the world. And this is a guy TNA needs to invest in heavily because when he becomes main event ready with the right style, the right look, the right gimmick, he could be a top guy. He could be a merch mover. They cannot fuck this up. They might, but they shouldn't. Now, the remaining X Division guy is Rich Swann, and I'm conflicted here. At one point, I would have said easily upper mid card guy, right? Good promo, fun as hell. He has that Dusty Rhodes energy, not the same kind of charisma, but Rich was here for a good time. And he was good enough in the eyes of Scott D'Amore to win the world title. And then didn't he main event against Kenny Omega? I think I lost Marcus from. I'm pretty sure he was the one who main evented and lost against Kenny Omega. But I feel like ever since he was paired with AJ Francis, I feel like he's taken a back seat to Francis, which only makes him look a little bit worse, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think of what happened. Marcus up? Uh, yeah, I think we may have momentarily lost Marcus due to technical difficulties. I'll
My
come.
bad.
Oh, there you are. I don't know if you heard any of that
About Slater.
about Rich Swann. So I think Slater's your top upper guy, right? But I think Rich Swann becomes a
Yeah.
complicated conversation because at one point he was main eventing against Kenny Omega, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like since he turned heel and paired with AJ Francis, he's lost a lot of his aura, lost a lot of his mystique, lost a lot of his individuality, and he's now just kind of AJ Francis's backup at this point. And I don't know
Mm.
what that means for him long term because he's a former world champion, former X Division champion. He had one of the best feuds. I was 2021, 22 with Sam Callahan.
Yeah.
So where would we put modern day Rich Swann, knowing full well what he's done, what he's been through, all that he is, all that he isn't? Would we still see him as a top guy in this company, or would we see him as a mid card tag team act?
Yeah, I'll probably say at this stage of the game, it's funny because I didn't, cause I think I saw him somewhere else. I didn't even know. I thought we had talked about him being gone from TNA.
He was, and he
Um,
recently came back due to the injury to Casey Navarro.
so that's cool. Glad to hear that because he really is one of those solid talents to watch. But I think right now I'd say uh, because we know he can always go, but right now in terms of I think just a storyline wise, he might fit in that tag team category. Certainly no jobber, and you're not gonna put him in the wise be here in fire category certainly, but um. I don't know if we ever saw him get back to that spot he was at. Like once he like dropped it to Kenny Omega, he kind of was floating for a little while. And then I think after that he had the feud. I want to say with Callahan,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then he went to the tag team, and that was kind of just I think something he was doing. Obviously having fun to a certain degree, but obviously not the way he was. But probably that upper tag team category at this point.
He's only 34, and I think that's wild.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put him on the upper end of this. I have only Masha, Danny Luna, Harley Hudson, and Myron Reed above him in the mids. So I still have hope for him. This leads us with the remaining top guys. Um, we're going to start with Frankie Kazarian. If I'm being honest, I like Frankie. I like his king persona, but Marcus, he's nearly 50. And while he's had several runs
Yeah.
close to the top of the roster, I feel like people who are like he should be world champion are just saying that because of the longevity he's had with this company. But I also don't view him as a TNA faithful because he left in 2004 to sign with WWE to wrestle on Velocity. And he left again, in what was it, 2014, 2015 to sign with Ring of Honor. I don't think he's owed anything. I don't think he's someone who should be world champion. And I think he's doing the best character work of his career. And I still think it's not that impressive. But he is 48, 49, and he can still move the way he does. So I'm going to put him in the upper mids, even over Myron Reed. Do you agree?
All right.
Then that takes us to Moose. I know he's aging. I don't think he's lost that much of a step from where he was 5, 6 years ago. And I think he's proven it pretty consistently that he's still a main event player in this company. And I know there's a sect of fans who don't like him because of past allegations that have never been confirmed. But I do think Moose is still a main eventer for this company.
So you think he is a main event?
Yes, I still think he's a main eventer for this company.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think we talked about like saying he's quietly one of the better big men in the business right
Mm-hmm.
now. Particularly when he's healthy and whatnot. So same same. Moose has been one of their best loyal pillars that they've had over these last few years, number of years, I should say.
Agreed. That takes us to Mustafa Ali. I don't think he's a main eventer, but I think his run with the Order 4 has shown that he can be a character worth watching. I would
Yeah.
not say he's a main eventer. He's nearly 40 himself, and I still don't think he's a great promo. But the Order 4 has shown that he can be very captivating among the rest of the TNA talent, which is a knock on the TNA talent. But also, I think it's a sign of who he is and what he can do. I think he's one of the better workers in the company. And I think it would be foolish to let him leave at this point, especially as he continues to develop this Order 4 gimmick and this Order 4 character and stable. But I'm still going to put him at the bottom end of the upper mid cards. Do you agree with his placement, or do you think there's an argument for him to be higher or even lower?
And this is for myself. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think this order four thing. I think he shows a lot of improvement since he's come to TNA. I think that's kind of reminds me of what we got with Nemeth, but obviously on a lower scale because they didn't put him after the world title. Although I do think he compete with that. He's definitely a guy that you can plug in there, much like Alexander, when you need a banger of a match with a really great heel. And this order four has been one of the more entertainment aspects to watch. That's not definitely associated with anything NXT. Um, so I definitely think Mustafa's like really earned his stripes in TNA. So yeah, I think that's a good spot for him.
I agree. I agree. Nick Nemeth, I'm also gonna put him in the uppers near the end. I don't know what if he's a genuine main eventer for this company. In my opinion, I know there's other guys I'd rather see win the world title over him winning it again, and that includes guys like Nick Nemeth, who I don't think is a world championship caliber wrestler. I would rather see Mance Warner or Leon Slater or even Trey or Zachary Wentz win the world title at this point than seeing another Nick Nemeth run. But I think even though he is, on the other side of 45, he's pushing 50. He still works really well. He can still cut a decent promo, and he still has a look and style about him that makes people tune in. But I think this is the highest he should be in this company.
And this is
Nemeth, Nick Nemeth specifically.
yeah, yeah, right there. Yeah, yeah, high upper tier. I love this reign as champion. What he's been doing with his brother, I think, has kept him solid, but it's helped his brother more than it's helped him to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, he's another one like Ali and like Moose, who's just one of those consistent players that they can depend on. You see, he's out with injury now, correct? Um,
He's out with a quote unquote injury, but
so
I think it's just because he only has so many dates per year to be. I know he's coming back
gotcha,
and on the next set of tapings.
gotcha. So yeah, I think upper mid card, I mean, upper card is definitely a healthy spot for him.
All right, that takes us to Sammy Callahan. Allegedly, he's retired. Marcus, I'm not buying the retirement hype. And heading into
Mm,
2025, I thought he should. But man, I got to tell you, that match he had, those matches he had around the time that he did the barbed wire massacre with Mance Warner, I thought the old Sammy came back. Now, it might be like a Mick Foley quoting, who is it, Toby Keith. Sammy Callahan may not be as good as he once was, right? But for a
yeah,
night, he can be as good as he ever was. And I think big match Sammy's still there. But I think if Sammy does come back, I think he's leaving the company, at least the television product, because I know he's working backstage. If he's leaving the on-screen product, I think it's to get himself into shape. I think he's going to get some work done on his leg, and I think he's going to come back fitter and ready to go. I think, assuming he does that, and from what we've seen so far, I think his character might work. Even though it's not a consistently great match aspect, I still think he's on the lower end of the upper mid card. I think he's right there with Nick Nemeth. Any disagreements?
no, no, like I said, I don't know what this going with this retirement thing is, but can't not lean towards you on that because it is wrestling, and we did see another little aspect of extending that storyline once he got backstage. But yeah, Callahan is definitely one of those people. Like even if he's not in the ring, he makes for a great talker, great antagonist, or some potential authority figure backstage or whatnot. And he's just also another person at this point that's just tied to the brand in a unique way. So like I said, if he comes back he can and do his thing, whatever. I just don't. I think we saw him at his apex. The only thing he does now to get past where he is going to be solid, but it's just not going to be what it was.
Agreed. This takes us to the other half of the good hands, Jason Hodge. He's the one that did have the match with Mustafa Ali that everyone was raving about. I think as a singles talent, I think he's right there with Myron Reed as potential. He's got a great look. He's not cut any great promos, but I think there's certainly something there. I think because we haven't seen as much out of him as we have Myron so far, I think, he doesn't beat Myron or Frankie at the top, but I do think Jason Hodge has a little bit more hype to his name than Harley Hudson. So I would put him third on the mid tier list so far. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree and leaning more towards your wisdom on this one, but yeah, um, he's another one of those talents that potential is great. So yeah,
This takes us to Steve Macklin, former world champion, former headliner, current international champion. I've never been a big Macklin guy. I thought he was the wrong choice to win the world title when Alexander got hurt. Now, granted, I still think he was a better option than Kushida, but that's not saying much. Kushida came in as a mid carder from Japan that they were trying to throw into the main event scene, and it felt forced. It felt rushed. I would say right now he's probably. I would say his run has made him kind of a workhorse guy unexpectedly, and I would probably put him
yeah.
between Steph DeLander and Tasha as far as the upper mid card talents go. Would you agree with that?
Well, he's getting slotted upper.
Yeah, between Steph and Tasha.
Yeah, yeah. I think the total slot I've been more high on him than you, but I've just that's because I've liked his intensity and his consistency. When he's not hurt, the guy would you know go balls to the wall in his matches and always shows up and goes all the way up and down the card wherever they put him and doesn't complain about it. So he's been another loyalist that's been consistent. So somebody they can depend on for whatever scenario they put him in. So I think that's a solid spot as well.
Next up is Matt Hardy. I think due to his name value, you have to put him in the upper mid card section as a standalone talent. As a worker, though, I think it hinders him, and I think it puts him at the end of the section because if I'm being 100% honest, I would rather watch a standard Sammy Callahan match than I would a standard Matt Hardy match involving a one-on-one aspect. Tag team, we the Hardy Boys gets elevated alone, but on his own, I think Matt Hardy's on the tail end of the upper mid cards, and I think he's the worst of the upper mid cards. But his name value is too high to be a mid carder at this point.
I'm saying, ain't he? Because he's got bad knees and he's bow-legged, correct?
Yep. And he's had
Yeah,
bad knees and
yeah,
has been bow legged since 2000. So like,
yeah, yeah. It's not good. We know where that where he works and appropriately so because with everything they've been through, particularly his match as well, he shouldn't be as in good shape as he is at his age with the amount of miles on his bump card. So yeah.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in everything. I'm gonna put Jeff Hardy, if you have no objections, in top guy category for one simple reason: the popularity of the Hardy Boys right now is still driven by Jeff Hardy. I don't think you put out a Hardy Boy, merch setup where you have like bags, shoes, jerseys, wristbands, and all that stuff, and you do an 8 pack of Hardy content if Jeff Hardy's not in the company. I think he's the driving force for their popularity, and I think he's still the reason fans care as much about the Hardys as they do in 2025. Now, I think individually, he might still hit this category as the top merch mover, a top headliner. But I think his real value is in his marketability and his merch moving. I think that's where he truly stands out, if not as a wrestler. I don't think he's that guy anymore, but I think he is a major merch mover. and that makes him a top guy in my
absolutely.
opinion.
So, yeah, yes, grew a whole generation.
Yes, he
You know
did.
what I'm saying? So, uh, thankfully, even spite himself, he still maintained that love. So that's real cool to see. And like you said, you got to put him there because he's a Hall of Famer for a lot of different reasons. So yeah.
And that brings us to Matt Cardona. You could put him in the uppers, you could put him in the main, you could put him in the fire, jobbers. Where would you kind of place Matt Cardona currently?
Maybe on the lower end of the mid card,
Okay.
and that's mostly because of the way he's booked in. It's weird. He's the guy that everybody dates, but nobody wants to settle down with.
And that says something, right? Like
Yeah.
he's had runs in he had a short run in the Ring of Honor. I think he's popped up for a spell in AEW. He's been in TNA a few times. He's been running through GCW, and he's never found a long term contract. Now maybe that's his fault, maybe it's not, but it is very interesting. This brings us to Eddie Edwards. I think as a member of this
Oh
Brian Myers
boy.
tag team, I think he has been hindered. But I think without
Mm.
Brian Myers, I think you can still make a case for him being an upper mid card guy. And I would slot him just after the Rascals and just before Mustafa.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Uh, I think like we said between he's picked up some weight. I think he got some happy dad weight
His
up in
knees
his
are
stomach,
also
and like you
obviously
said,
bothering him too.
yeah, his knees, his age, his I think the tag team has helped prolong him in a way that he can still put on a bang of singles, but it just won't have that same pop to it. But it's Eddie, man.
Mm-hmm.
Even at his worst, he's still one of the best.
Exactly.
You know, and so you gotta give him his props. Yeah.
Next up is Jake Something. Would you argue that even though Leon has the X Division title, Jake Something should be in the top spot of the upper mid card? Or do you think Leon should be in the top spot of the
Yeah,
upper mid card? Or do you think Something shouldn't even be in the upper mid card?
I'm gonna say he should be in the top spot of a mid card. I just wish the damn company would see that.
I would agree. I would agree. I think between Leon, like, and here, like, this is the main event scene is trash in TNA right now. That is demonstratively obvious. But when you look at Jake Something, he's 35 or 36. He's not young. But you look at Jake Something's, Leon Slater, Mance Warner, there is a lot of potential in that upper mid card group to break to the next level. And I think that says something. That takes us to our final two guys, Mike Santana. I think you put Mike Santana squarely in the main event with Moose.
Yeah.
I think you have to. Good promos, great in ring work, unique style, and has a genuine, authentic connection with the audience. I think he's a main eventer, and I think if you can market him, promote him, and more importantly, re-sign him, you can make him into a top guy. Here's the problem: his contract is allegedly up at the end of the year. If that's the case, I think he wins at Bound
Yeah.
for Glory,
Um,
loses it by
yeah.
December.
Oh man, you,
Yeah.
you think? Man,
If they
think
don't re-sign him,
whatever they got to do. Yeah.
well, I was gonna say if they don't resign him, if the rumors are true that he is up in the end of the year and NXT and WWE are interested in signing him, that's kind of what you got to do. You have to put the belt on him at Bound for Glory and then take it off come December. If he does resign, everything's out the window and we roll.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Y'all need to whoever listen, who's ever listening, listen to what we said. Whoever we got in the category of fired or why they here, take three of those contracts and whatever they were making, combine that and add it to Santana's salary.
Yeah, honestly.
Like whatever you got to do, definitely put the belt on him, combine for glory because you would be worse idiot than you were at Slammiversary. Gotta do that, and then you gotta butter whatever bread he says is his favorite after that, because there's no way that you can add his name to the list of Josh Alexander, Peraza, Grace, and whoever else y'all let slip through your fingers. Y'all, he's been the most consistently best book thing um in this regime since we've been critiquing it downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and everything he didn't get to do in AEW, he's gotten to do now. He's showed improvement every aspect of his game. He has next, and y'all got to make sure that he gets next at Bound for Glory, and that he stays in that spot and wants to stay next in the company, because WWE is a fickle, um, or should I say, a Teasley beast going down the hallway in a mini skirt. So y'all got to y'all got to get on your good foot. If you don't do nothing else in the back half of this year, y'all got to make sure he resigns.
The the only thing I'll say about him is I remember when he was doing his stuff with LAX, and I tweeted out Mike Santana is a future world champion, and Ortiz responded with "So am I," and I was like, "Oh, okay," but obviously not. Obviously, Santana's been the top guy, and it's pretty obvious, and it continues to be obvious.
Yeah.
That being said, we got one final name, Joe Hendry. And the question is main event or top guy? And here's my argument for where Joe Hendry should end up. I don't think he's been booked well. I think his run has hurt the company's public perception. And that's not really a debate because there are so many AEW fans that basically call TNA a WWE feeder system. You know, that sucks. And that's not who TNA was. It's not who TNA should be. And it's not who TNA should strive to want to be. And Joe Hendry getting jobbed out at the Royal Rumble, being jobbed out at WrestleMania, getting jobbed out to Trick Williams on what was it, Battleground, Heat Waves, one of these stupid ass NXT names. All this has hurt his marketability and has hurt the company. That being said, Joe Hendry was the only other person to get an 8 pack of new merch revealed this year, alongside the Hardy Boys. You could buy Joe Hendry shoes, wristbands, shirts, all sorts of accoutrements. He is still popular. He is still getting insane pops. Fans still love Joe Hendry despite his booking, his poor fucking booking. So all that being said, I think you have to put him in top guy category alongside Jeff Hardy. And I think you have to understand that as a merch mover, as a ticket seller, he's one of TNA's best aspects. And just like Mike Santana, he might be gone come the end of 2025. And I don't think TNA is ready for that. Do you agree or disagree?
Man, 100%. Well, 200%. Everything you said, adding on the fact that, like you said, the perception being that WWE is using TNA as a feeder system. I don't know if any name that we've mentioned, but everything that's going on with this partnership, I don't know if there's any other name that's helped that perception more than Joe Hendry. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
um, to the point where like you said, he got jobbed out, looking like a schmuck on his show, looking like a schmuck on NXT, and to the point now where he's a literal. They turned him into a literal gimmick. Not even TNA did that with it.
No.
They turned him into a literal gimmick on NXT, which is a feeder system, third brand or whatever narrative you want to go with. But like you said, you can't deny. Thankfully, he's maintained his popularity. He can obviously still put on great matches. You can't beat that theme song. And he probably had one of the best. He had one of the best moments this year when he won that damn title.
Mm-hmm.
It just sucks that so much of that has been traded in for a look. So
Agreed.
Like I said, it still feels for everything that all his pros. It still feels like he's been well, it started off loosely, but not even loosely no more. Really setting himself up for a long-term job interview that he's just waiting to get when when things go a different way contractually. But for now, he still works for the brand, so you got to give him the spot that he's earned.
I agree. Plus, he's still showing up. He's still a major asset for the WWE overseas because he's part of this European leg that they're doing. He's been popping up on a house show or two, so that says a lot. So this is the final standing. We're not going to read off every other names, but if you look very closely, there's only four guys that we think would generate interest as main event players: Jeff Hardy, Joe Hendry, Moose, and Mike Santana. Considering they lost Speedball, Josh Alexander, John Gresham, Alexander Hammerstone. Who else have they lost? Ace Austin. All these guys could be in the upper or main event scene for this company, and they lost them
Yeah,
all in the last 8 months. Yeah, the main event scene's depleted, and there's not a lot of talent behind them that I think would fit in there. I think Macklin, Jake something. No, I think those are your two best options right now to get into the main event scene. Mance Warner and Leon Slater in about a year or two. But right now, the main event scene's not impressive. There is hope in the upper mid card scene. The mids, you got Frankie, you got Rich Swann, who could maybe be a spot main eventer here or there. Byron Reed with some development could be a great heel main eventer. Jason Hodge, could be a really interesting main event player, but you got a lot of guys that I don't think should be in the positions they are. And TNA really needs to reevaluate the roster they have going forward because if they do land a major TV deal, this talent pool ain't going to cut it. They got a lot of weak ass wrestlers. There's at least, I'd say, half the roster who in the mid to why are they here sections would be deemed replaceable to some extent. I don't think anyone outside of the upper to main event to main top guy category. I don't think anyone outside of those three categories is should be feeling safe in their job. If you're in the upper main event or top guy category, I think you're secure in your job. I think if you're in the mid card or lower, I think your potential or you have some type of notoriety or name value that can generate interest, but not so much that could generate real ticket sales. And you're here because you're kind of in that nexus almost, that middling tier where you're both a prospect
yeah,
and potential and also somehow a finished commodity at the same time. And then everything outside of that, yeah, it would suck to lose Alicia. We all love her, but she also has not proven to be a draw to any degree. So would she really be a loss? Same thing with Brian Myers and Eric Young, Elijah, Laredo Kid, and so many others. So I think this is a fair, accurate representation of where we are at as a brand, and I think TNA needs to do a little bit of serious improvement with the roster going forward. Personally,
100% agree, my friend.
that's just me. I don't know what we're doing yet for next week. We'll figure something out. We always do. We're gonna. I personally want to let this what's his name, Raja Jackson.
Yeah,
I want to let this Raja Jackson thing play out. It certainly isn't a
yeah,
good look, and it makes the industry look bad. But I also don't want to jump in on it right now when so many people are trying to rage bait. If we talk about it, I want to make sure we talk about it honestly, and I want to make sure that everyone involved is specifically the victim of it, Psycho Stu, is recovered and out of the hospital. There are reports that he is, but I've not seen anything official. So we may not touch that story because everyone else has done a pretty good job of looking into it and talking about it. But if we do, it's going to be later on down the road. Um,
yeah.
Anything else happened over the last few days that you want to comment on before we head off for the night?
Um, no, nothing. That I could think of that majorly happened that was egregious.
All right. with that being said, we're gonna call it. Oh, I got a wisdom tooth out. It's been making all sorts of fun for my mouth tonight, slurring, slipping, and what have you. It's also making me. I'm pretty sure I'm sweating out this infection because like at one point in the show I started
Huh.
sweating really badly, but also I had an infection above my one tooth that I had to get removed, which is why I had to get removed. And I think my body is fighting that right now. I think that's why I'm having all sorts of weird happening in my body at the moment. It's been a weird day. So we'll reconvene in a few days and talk ideas. Of course, Marcus, if you ever have any, send them my way. We can absolutely cover them. Um, I do like covering TNA the most, so we may do another TNA specific episode next week. But with that being said, check out the website, realnerdcorp.com, REALNERDCORP.com. We're on Twitter at NERDCRP. We're on Instagram at realnerdcorp, REALNERDCRP. We're also, Marcus, you have your own show. It's called the True Penny Show. You do it with another gentleman. And you guys post new shows every week on the True Penny Twitter account. You can find the shows there at TruePennyShow. And of course, you have your own
Yes, sir.
Twitter account, which we plug, which is Paradox Kid, PARADOXKID. Make sure to follow Marcus there. As for me, I'm on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHEDNERDCRP. And on Chad's photo at CHEDSPHOTOHUT. I've recently started posting again on there. You can now meet my cats Darby and Liza, who are front and center on my account. So if you ever wanted to see what my little black cat, my little tricolor cat look like, you can now do so. And I think they look delightful. So with that being said, check us out at the website, realnerdcorp.com, Twitter, NERDCRP, twitch.com/Wrestling Underground, and youtube.com/Wrestling Underground. For Marcus Green, I'm Chad Porto. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. Marcus, take us home.
Good night.